Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to welcome you all here, the official press conference devoted to a special event representing the cultural dialogue, cultural cooperation between the Republic of Korea and Ukraine. We are grateful to the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center for support and for organization of this press conference. We hope that this is just a beginning of a series of these important events which has just started in Ukraine. We hope that this dialogue will become traditional. During our today's press conference, we would like to request our guests to express their opinion. We're happy to welcome His Excellency Mr. Lee Yang-gu, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Korea and Ukraine. We have also Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong, composer and conductor, and artistic leader of the National Chamber Music Orchestra, the Soloists of Kyiv, Mr. Oles Yasko. Of course, we would like to start from very short introductory words. Mr. Ambassador will speak a Russian language. He will describe this project and about the presentation of Korean culture in Ukraine. Mr. Lee Yang-gu, could you please describe this project and Korean activity in Ukraine? Good afternoon. I'm happy to speak today to you in Russian. Thank you for your interest expressed to this press conference. Also, I would like to use this opportunity and express my condolences with those families who lost their relatives in result of the military conflict. I think that these hard times will someday be finished and Ukraine will develop very rapidly. These are my first 2 weeks in Ukraine. I just arrived 2 weeks ago, and despite this very short period of time, I immediately understood that this is a very beautiful and interesting country. As far as I know, we have good achievements in our relations. For example, Samsung Arena Center opened the corner in the National Botanical Garden, and some others. For me, it's a big honor to work as ambassador of the Republic of Korea in Ukraine. There is a big responsibility strengthening bilateral relations between Korea and Ukraine in the areas of foreign policy, culture, and economy is very important for me. That's why we try to organize this musical dialogues, which I think will strengthen our relations. Next year, we will mark 25th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our two countries. And in this connection, we have been working on a series of events that will commemorate this date. in June, September, and October. We plan to have workshops and business forum and also a week of Korean culture in Ukraine and some other joint events and concerts. Thank you for this opportunity to express that I hope for future fruitful cooperation between our countries in future. With this, we would like to give the floor to the conductor and composer. Actually, this musical cooperation have been lasting for a year now. A year ago, Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong met with the Soloists of Kyiv chamber ensemble, and they started their cooperation. And today we would like to ask Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong about this project. Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong is a member of the musical association Mr. Suwon in Korea, and Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong had got his musical education in Europe, in Austria and Poland, and maybe it's not by occasion that he had opened Ukraine via European School of Music, where Ukrainian music, where Ukrainian School of Music is well known. So let me introduce Mr. SUng-Yong Cheong. First of all, I would like to thank to the ambassador of the Republic of Southern Korea in Ukraine for launching of this project in Ukraine. I'm also very grateful to the Soloists of Kyiv Chamber Ensemble for the work with my work and for our joint cooperation. And although Yelena and me never met before my arrival to Ukraine, Yelena is manager of the Soloists of Kyiv Ensemble, but music brought us together and brought us to this meeting. So here in Ukraine, we met with this other. During the last year, we exchanged with our vision how to develop this project. We shared our visions, held discussions, and due to the support of the Embassy of Southern Korea in Ukraine and to support from Ukrainian government, we are able to be here today. And we are glad that this very meaningful project will finally happen in Ukraine. Our project is called Musical Dialogues. Here we mean the dialogue not just between Ukraine and Korea, we would like to show by our example that music could be instrumental in maintaining dialogue between any nations. As a musician, I believe that music is free of evil, free of hostility, that we can reach peace with music. And although this project is just a small beginning of continuous dialogue between two countries, musical dialogue between two countries, I believe that it could be taken as a good case and as a good example and developed everywhere in the world to show that there is peace. There might be peace everywhere on earth. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think that it is a good thing that this project is carried out jointly with the Soloists of Kyiv ensemble, which is which has been an ambassador of Ukrainian culture for a long period of time. Today we have presentation of Ukrainian Korean project, but actually this chamber orchestra has similar relations with Poland, with Estonia, with some other countries. And today at the concert you will see the Estonian component. So will you please say a couple of words about this Korean-Ukrainian Day? Thank you very much. This is for the first time when in Kyiv, in Ukraine, within one concert night, you will hear in parallel Ukrainian and Korean music. In general, Korean music could not be heard quite often in Ukraine. And I think it is important to let the audience hear the music which is composed in today's Korea and in today's Ukraine. Today we represent Yulia Gomelska works, to also Oleg Kiva, and also today we will present Symphonia Extravaganza by Kozarenko, by composer Kozarenko. Life in the 21st century is not simple, is comprehensive, is complicated, and the music which tries to render, to represent this complicated and comprehensive life is also not simple, because it is a reflection of our life. And besides all that complexity, we have additional problems in our country. That's why we are very happy that despite many hardships in our life today, we had found this unity. There's a spiritual unity, this ethical unity, cultural unity between two nations which live far away from each other, but the language of music is able to unite very remote nations. It was, thank you very much, it was Oles Yasko, director of the National Chamber Ensemble Soloists of Kyiv. Now we will have Q&A session. Valentin will give you the microphone, and please do not forget to represent yourself. If you have any questions to His Excellency, please start with the questions to His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, and please try to formulate them in Russian if you have any questions. Maybe I will start. Your Excellency, 25 years of diplomatic relations between two countries is a good day to commemorate. And you mentioned several cultural projects. In a week, we will see Sarah Chong, who permanently live in the United States but will represent Korean culture. How do you think how Korean culture could be presented in Ukraine, whether there should be a classical culture or folk pieces of music, or there should be Korean contemporary art, artists, etc. Thank you for your interesting question. I just arrived to Kyiv, and currently we are thinking and trying to understand what sorts of cultural events will be perceived more warmly, but a priori I believe that this might be both classical and traditional Korean cultural events. In October this year, we will have Korean Week in Ukraine, and when we will have the Korean concert and the Korean contemporary art concert, so to say, contempa. And based on those two events which I just described, we will understand what will be perceived more warmly. I'm Christina Chimakina from UCMC. I have two questions. One is about your diplomatic activity. To one, actually, you've already answered. When do you expect you have your Korean Week, and what cultural events you might hold? As far as I know, the joint Korean-Ukrainian concert is scheduled for September 9th. Also, there will be the Festival of Korean Cuisine, and if the weather will allow, we will have a fashion show, and maybe there will be a sort of business forum. This is not eventually decided, and later we will have K-pop concert. So these are our cultural plans for this year. And the second, my question is about music. Geographically, two our countries are located rather far away from each other, and now about the music, how different are the musical cultures of two countries? Maybe that's the question to the conductor and composer. If to speak in musical terms, we may present music as a food. I know that thanks to music, people are able to express cultural and political beliefs of their time, and music can concentrate and express all this vision of the time. If we try to find one joint feature between Ukrainian and Korean music, I would say that Ukraine experienced a lot of interventions, invasions during its history, and the same is true about Korea. Korea always was a subject of conquest and never had been the object of conquest. That is, we never tried to occupy the neighboring territories. When we listen to music composed by Ukrainian nation or Korean nation, we feel this pain, this inner pain, this feeling of the oppression and the strive to freedom, the strive for liberation. And listening even to the street music, listening to Ukrainian folk music, which I heard in the streets, I never felt this music as a music of a strange country. I always felt this music very closely and very warmly. That's why I think this joint feature, the strive for freedom, the strive for liberty, and the strive for happiness. Mr. Oles, maybe you will add a couple of words. What is the vision of Ukrainians of this mutual features? Both our countries, both Ukraine and Korea, has its mentality, which differ, of course, but the musicians all around the world try to reflect love, joy, sadness in their music. they wish to reflect the sense of pride about the beauty of their land. And despite the fact that our two nations are look like very different, but there are things which are important for us, and these human values could unite all the nations around the world. We have one more question, Natalia Sergeyenko. The first question is to Ms. Lee Yang-gu. I already mentioned my question. Whether you plan to hold this Korean cultural week regularly in Ukraine, like we have French Spring. Maybe you will might wish to have Korean Autumn, for example. I cannot promise that we will have traditional cultural festival of Korea in Ukraine, but what is definite that we will have a week of Korea more or less regularly. And now a question to the composer. Your piece, your work, musical work, is very interesting, and you presented one work which is devoted to the biblical topic, which represents biblical topic, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Besides your folk songs, I took the Bible story about nourishing 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and because I tried to represent this miracle created by Jesus Christ, and trying to explain the musical tunes which I composed to reflect this story. When composing my music, I imagined very simple instruments, very simple musical tunes, just like Jesus Christ took 2 very simple elements of food, and with this simple material, with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, he nourished 5,000 people, and 12 boxes of the residues were collected. Just the same I tried to show with my simple material. So using very simple instruments, I tried to express how you can give a start to eternity from very simple things, trying to analyze this musical piece. For me, the figures represented in the story became symbolic: 5, 2, and 7, and 12. 5 loaves, 2 fishes, and 12 disciples and 12 boxes of residues. I try to apply that figures in my musical piece and in my piece of music. If you analyze this music, you clearly see that 5 and 2 they equals to 7, and the 7 there are 7 notes which I used as a basis for my piece, for my work, and I tried to use 12 different tunes based on the 7 notes to show all this story. Although the Bible story says that there was nothing special in that story. I had 6 first violins, 6 second violins, 6 bass violins, and 6 clarinets. And each musical instrument each musician takes very simple musical instrument and plays some very limited tune, very limited party. And there's 24 different parts. They unite in one musical piece. So each party is played by each musical instrument. The first violin cannot play the party of the second violin, because the first violin has to play its own party. In this musical piece, 24 different musicians are like 24 soloists playing individual parties. I tried to express this miracle when 5,000 people were fed with that 5 loaves and 2 fishes. When uniting 24 different musical instruments, you hear something very interesting and wonderful. 3 final questions and we will finish. Your Excellency, the cultural event is called the musical dialogues, which suggests that these dialogues will be continued. I'm very happy that you have started at this very good level of your traditional folk music. But in general, young people, they are more interested in rock styles, in more pop styles. I know there are several interesting Korean rock groups. Whether you plan to bring some popular Korean musicians, rock musicians. Currently, we started our work to organize K-pop. This will be a concert of Korean stars. If the conditions will allow us, this will be joint concert of stars from Korea and Ukraine. Ukraine is not well known in Korea. When I was preparing to relocate to Ukraine, I tried to find a tour guide guidebook about Ukraine, and I was unable to find it, which brought me to understanding that we should strengthen our joint relations. You have very beautiful capital. I think that Ukraine should be more promoted in Korea. I would like to point out K-pop is a cultural trend, cultural style in Korea. For us, it is not maybe understandable, but it is very well famous, very popular in Korea, and you will become more familiar when they have this concert. I have a suggestion as to what you said during your presentation. I have been to Korea 2 times, and I witnessed the fact that Korean young people are very fond of their national culture. I know how Korean culture became popular in France, in the United States. We will be happy to see Korean young artists here in Ukraine, because I think that they will be very warmly met here in Ukraine. Thank you very much. And the last question for today. Ukraina Молода newspaper. Your project is called The Dialogues, where the Ukrainian culture will be presented in Korea, and how you will start this presentation. I'm at the stage of studying this issue. Of course, we will plan the days of Ukrainian culture in Korea. And we have association of Ukraine and Korea in Seoul, and each year Korea invites Ukrainian orchestras to play Ukrainian music, and we will make this cultural exchange more active to strengthen mutual understanding. We are very grateful to all our speakers, and we hope that this is just the beginning of a serious and long-lasting program that we will able to represent in Korea, both and in Ukraine, our countries. His Excellency Ambassador invites you to networking at 6 p.m.
Ну і о 7 годині ми зустрічаємося на концерт.
And at 7 p.m. we invite you to the concert. Thank you.
Друзі, на 3-й поверх піднімаємося, там буде прийом пана посла. Дякую.